But you should fix the lawn because it's supposed to be flat, not bump.
You sure about that?
Yeah.
It looks pretty flat to me.
No, it's bumpy.
No, look at that.
Look at the cars.
Oh yeah, they do go right underneath.
That side and that side is flat, but the real is not.
Isn't that flat enough?
No.
No?
This side, the low side will get too much water.
Ah, I see. I will fix it. Hey, what's going on here?
I'm trying, but you made it flat.
What?
I'm trying to play, but you made it flat.
Well, put the cart under the rod.
I am.
Well, you were doing it like not that long ago. Put it under.
I am.
Oh.
I made it flat.
Oh, I made it flat. That's right. You know how I made it flat?
How?
Let me show you.
Right.
All right, so that's a silly way to start the video. And I understand that this is not a bad thing at all. But I do know that there are a lot of people out there that do have rough patches in their lawn. Some sort of low spot that should be repaired. I mean, life is going to go on if we don't repair it, but it is nice to repair it. Now, I got a pretty good yard, but this is one of the low spots, the obvious low spots. If you're actually walking through the yard, it's hard to miss this if you walk over it. It's about a 2-inch drop from here to there. It's I don't know, it's not enormous, but it's big enough to notice. So I'm going to go ahead and fix this today. I'm going to show you how to fix it. If you want to level an entire lawn, you're going to want to pick up some extra tools and go about it a different way. This video is really not about leveling an entire lawn. It's really about fixing a low spot in the lawn. You don't need hardly anything to do it, but you do need to use a few techniques that are pretty important. So let's get into it. All right, I'm literally laying on my stomach on the ground so that I can show you this. Right here, this is grade. If we come over here, it slopes down quite a bit. Now you see all this grass right here? All of that wants to fall over and cover up that area right there. So when you get to a low spot, depending on how big it is, you're going to want to make sure that you pull a lot of this up so that you can fully expose the spot, because we don't want to put material on top of grass that's laid over. Because if we do that, especially if the spot is deeper, we're going to risk killing off this grass by basically mulching it down. All right, so to make sure that we don't put material, fill material on top of grass that's folded over, the first thing to do is to cut it down. You cut it as short as you can. Most people have a rotary mower, so you set that thing down on the lowest setting. For the most part, rotary mowers aren't going to get much lower than about 1, maybe 1¼ inches. So after I cut everything down, I fluffed it with a rake, cut it some more, and then I started using grass shears. Now, one way to do this to make it easier is to use a reel mower. So you can get a fairly cheap reel mower from most big box stores. Scott's makes a handful of them, probably less than $100. You could go out and rent a really fancy one to get that grass cut down to less than ½ of an inch. But grass shears work just fine for a small space, just a small low spot like this. And that's what I use. It took me about maybe 5 minutes on my hands and knees to cut it down to probably about ½ an inch, maybe a little bit less than that. Here you see I'm blowing all the debris. The whole point here is you want the grass as short as humanly possible, and then I use the hairbrush to actually stand it up as best as I could, because once we put material on it, we want the material to go under the grass blades. We want the grass blades to be pointing straight up so that it will grow through the material. Now for the lowest of the low spots, we start with sand. But for this particular spot, I'm trying to raise the ground level up almost 2 inches. So I don't want a 2-inch layer of sand. So we're going to start with sand, and then we're going to add some extra stuff to it. Here I'm opening up play sand. Play sand is a finer grit sand. We don't really want coarse. Coarse stuff is going to leach nutrients and water a lot faster, but it's also just going to be gritty. It's not going to feel as good. It's going to, when you're putting small rocks on the lawn. Play sand being soft and fine, it's going to settle down in between all the grass. And here you see I'm putting it in the lowest spots first. There's my daughter making things hard. She's fantastic, but yeah, she makes things hard. Anyway, you put stuff in the low spots. You still have to fluff up what's left of the grass because you want it to be poking straight up. And that's, once we cut it really short, it's easy to get it to point straight up. Choose the lowest spots first. A little bit later on, once the grass starts growing, we can start filling in larger areas and start bringing the entire grade closer to flat. At that point, we're actually going to be putting down some soil and some more nutritious amendments to the surface of our lawn. We'll get to that a little bit later here in this video. Here you see I'm using the hairbrush again to work that sand down to the soil level and kind of encourage the stubby grass to be poking upright vertically as much as possible. All right, I just went overboard cutting that grass as short as I possibly could. My daughter helped. Mostly she watched and got in the way. But then I decided to put a little bit of play sand in the deepest spots. Now, I am not a big fan of putting sand down on the lawn in cores, and I know that that is a very normal thing to do. In fact, lots of professional landscapers, golf courses, and whatnot use tons of sand. I've got a small lawn, so I don't really think it's necessary. I think there are other ways to do it. But in this case, I've just got a couple small, deep spots that I figured I would put sand down first. And now I'm going to put a little bit of quick release nitrogen fertilizer on literally 20 square feet of grass. Now at bag rate, that is going to be 1.6 ounces of granular fertilizer that I'm going to spread over this 20 square foot area. And then once I get that down, I'm going to water it all in. And then I'm going to top dress the whole thing with some other materials I'll show you in a minute. All right, this is the fertilizer I'm going to be using. This is ammonium sulfate. It is not what I recommend for general use. This is a very situation-specific product that I'm going to be using. Bag rate, it tells me to do 1.6 ounces. So I have measured out, look at that, I lost my measurement. This is 1.4. I've rounded it down to 1.4 ounces. That's it. Right there. All right, now that ammonium sulfate that I just put down is, once I water it in, it's going to go into the root system extremely fast. And the grass is going to respond to it very quickly and start growing. Now, I'm also going to be adding this product. Soybean meal. This is a organic nitrogen fertilizer, but as you can see, it's got a pinch of phosphorus and potassium, different from malorganite. This is what it looks like. It's like a powder, almost like something you would do baking with. So now almost 3 weeks have passed. As you can see, the rest of my lawn has greened up because we're well into spring now, or a few weeks in. You can barely see the sand that I put down under the grass that has been growing. There's the sand right there. As you get really close, you can see it. Again, I only put that sand in the lowest of the low spots. So I'm going to be trimming the whole thing down again. This is what you would be doing again. No matter how many rounds of this leveling process you do, every time you're about ready to put new material to bring that low spot up higher, you really got to trim that grass back hard. I actually mowed the lawn twice within this 2-week period. That ammonium sulfate really does work quickly. But at this point, we are moving into the soybean meal is starting to take effect. And so the ammonium sulfate is starting to wane because it doesn't last for a long time. So here I'm mixing up some potting soil with the sand and worm castings. I'm kind of making a kind of like a sandy loam. a little bit more of a soil-like texture that's going to go as the next layer while I bring this up. Baby girl here really had a good, fun time helping me. As you watch me spread this, see, I'm still fluffing it with my hand at this point, because you really want to get, again, the grass blades poking up through it as much as possible. You'll also notice that my low spots are now wider. So there's actually more material that's getting put down as I get this ground area flatter and flatter and flatter. This material is actually going to be better long-term for the soil because it's actually soil. I'm creating soil. I don't want 2 inches of sand. Hey there, baby girl. Hi. Stay out of the dirt. You're going to stain your clothes. Now with that, I water it in, and then we just let Mother Nature take course, and grass grows. We keep it cut. Right, I've been working on this leveling project for, I don't know, a few weeks, a month or so. I don't know, I'd have to check the dates. But we are doing good. So this is the low spot still. I can get my fingers under there, but it's nowhere near as bad as it used to be. And if you recall, when my kids were here with me, they could fit cars, like matchbox cars underneath this. I can barely get my fingertips under there at this point. Everything is looking really nice. If I pull back, you can actually see that the grass there is darker green and just more pleasant looking than everything else around it. So everything I'm doing here is really helping the grass to be super healthy. So I'm going to pull up the grade ever so slightly one more time, and then I think I'm going to call it quits, because after another couple weeks or so, when the grass like grows back up, we're going to be pushing mid-May, and at this point I don't want to keep like stressing the grass out by making it leggy, even though it's growing up through the sand and soil, because summer is coming up. I mean, it feels like we're barely into spring, but summer is coming up fast. So I want this to be pretty level, but I don't want to go crazy all the way into like June and July trying to make this perfect. I never really strive for perfection. I always strive for improvement. And over the course of time, improvement comes pretty close to perfection if that's all you're trying to do all the time. So I'm going to do one more time, one more leveling thing, and that is going to basically take a low spot in my lawn and make it pretty darn flat. Anyone can do this to any low spot in their lawn. All it takes is every few weeks just bringing it up a little bit, giving it good food, good soil, and then bringing it up a little bit more. Always trim that thing down as close as possible. I'm using grass shears. Really fancy people out there have fancy like reel mowers. I don't own one of those things, and I don't plan on buying one. So I'm just going to use grass shears and cut that thing down to the ground. Those things cost like $20 at your local, like, big box store. Just go pick some up. It's easy to level the lawn. It just takes some time. What?
It's getting wider.
It's getting deeper?
No, it's getting flatter.
It's getting flatter?
Yeah.
Can you get your finger under there?
Yeah.
Yeah. It still could be more flat.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's do one more round, huh?
Yeah.
Definitely. All right. That's not going to be perfect, but that's getting closer. Right now, it just looks like a big old dirty spot on the lawn. We're going to water it in, and then in 2 weeks, it's going to look amazing. Two weeks. What do you think?
Good.
Pretty good?
Yeah.
Is it easy enough that anyone can do it?
I think so.
Yeah, probably. It's easy enough. All right, I want to leave you with this. It actually is pretty easy to do this. Anyone can do it. I'm talking about a low spot right there. If you're going to level an entire lawn, you can't do it like this. You can't just take grass shears, get on your hands and knees. It's going to take too long. There are tools to use. Use a real mower. If you're going to do a very large area, use a leveling rake to, just spread all of the sand and soil throughout your low spots. They make these tools. They are useful for large areas. If you're going to do a small spot, don't worry about it. I also have some material over on my website, which I'll also link to down below, that will give you a little bit extra information on the larger leveling projects. So if you've got lots of low spots or an entire lawn that's just kind of like, I don't know, wavy like the ocean, go ahead and take a look at those. Leveling rakes do not have to cost very much. You can get small ones for very reasonable prices. If you're going to do low spots, they're still not necessary. Look at that back there. Look at that. It's fantastic. It's perfect. In my opinion, it's perfect enough. I hope this video was helpful and interesting. Hit the like button and take a look at those links below. Thanks a lot, and I'll see you in another video down the road. Maybe this one right up in here. I'm going to hold this for a while so you have time to hit it. Click that link.